Hi everyone. So today I want to talk about barriers to improvement. I've wrote down 5. I could probably list 100 or more, but these are 5 things that I want you to think about as you're moving through your training blocks. Think about right here, right now, today. Things that you've been doing. Would you agree with these things or not? Maybe some things that are controversial, as ever. So first up, one major point is to connect to your why. So what drives you out of bed in the morning? What are you doing your training for? Why are you putting yourself in difficult situations, in difficult scenarios? So why are you turning up to train? Why are you doing hard sessions? Why are you sacrificing sort of time that could be spent with family and friends and doing other social things and things that are maybe easier? Why are you doing that? So obviously this is connecting to goal setting and short, medium, long-term goals and vision. Vision is something we talk about a lot at Project Run. What is your lifetime vision? When people come into the club, I like to ask that. And most people, probably 90% of people, don't know what their vision is. And that vision may change a lot of the time. For me personally, I like to have like a lot of short-term goals, like things like next weekend. Next weekend's North East Cross Country Champs. That's like a big goal. And like short-term things like that are like a month away, or maybe within the next 3 months. And then you have something a bit longer, like 6 months away, which might be a marathon. And then you're like where you want to be this time next year. And then you've obviously got lifetime vision. So it's very important to have a goal and deadlines and targets, because if you don't have them, it's hard to add purpose to your training, and it's hard to turn up on the days that you don't want to do it. So first and foremost, connect to your why you're doing it. And it might not be a race, it might be mentally, or it might be socially. But if it's important to you, you're going to want to do it. So find your why and, stick to your why. Second is learn to be comfortable whilst being uncomfortable. So this is something we talk about a lot. And as Steve Magnus would call it, do difficult things or do hard things regularly. So you only get confident and stronger in terms of mentally and physically when you do hard things and you succeed. So personally, like the last few weeks, I've changed my training around where I've drove to locations that I find places that are difficult, like hilly places, or I might do like the track environment. I'm not really keen on the track environment, but I know it's good for me. I don't like core work, so I despise it. But I've started doing it 4 times a week. So it's doing the things that you don't want to do, and that's what's going to get you better. Yeah, we all know when we've been in a difficult scenario. It might be in other aspects of life, like a tough interview or a tough job, or first day at a job, or first day at school, or anything, running a marathon and succeeding. If you do succeed, it's a massive mental boost. If we always choose the easy path all the time, we're not going to grow, we're not going to get stronger, and we're not going to be able to take on harder things. I think it's important to note that when you want to put yourself in difficult scenarios, that it's just sit outside your comfort zone, but not too far, because if it is too far, it becomes demotivating, and you're less likely to achieve it. So it needs to be a little bit outside, but not too much. There's a good little image where you got 2 ladders. One ladder, the steps are really short, and the other ladder, the first steps, you can't even reach it, you can't even climb it. And obviously you've got your goals at the top, and the person who has little small steps each time gets out of the comfort zone each time, gets a bit higher, and gets to the goal eventually. But if the steps are too big, then you're going to struggle to even get started, maybe. But yeah, you've got to find joy in the hard situations. It's like Kipchoge when he smiles at the end of a marathon. It's not necessarily his emotion; he's maybe faking that, but it's sending signals back that he's comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's a big mental edge. So you got to get used to that. I mean, things I've seen this week, especially looking on Strava. I think it was Wednesday night. Just looking at different club sessions, and I'm not being picky. I'm not, I'm just saying how it is. But a lot of sessions were like taper sessions, what I would say. And I see this every week. Like, I mean, being a coach, I live on Strava quite a lot, and you see sessions that people are doing, classing them as peak sessions. I'm talking about outside of this club, not things that I'm setting, but the taper sessions. They're not getting tough. They're not tough enough. They're not big enough. The work to rest ratio is all wrong. And it's sad to see, but I don't see that progression in the outside running community at all. So something we've all got to work on. Number 3 is measurement. So people hate me when I say this, but when I'm telling people to lap the watches all the time and record measurements, like, it's important because you have to be able to compare. It's also a reality check. Like, if you can't measure what you're doing in the session, then you can't compare in the future, and then you can't tell if you're getting better or not. So I'm all about putting times down on Strava, whether it be Strava, Final Surge, or a training book, or a training log, or training diary, like to measure progress is really important. Often I look over what I was doing this time last year. I'll analyze the weeks to death, and then I'll pick out areas that I want to work on and improve. And am I doing that right now? Am I getting better than that? Am I challenging myself more? Am my times faster on the track, on the same hill session or the same road loop that I've done before? That's so important. It is, because that's the only way you know you're getting better. And also don't hide from races as well. Like, it's good to race if you're unfit sometimes. You don't always have to be in peak shape. It's a reality check. Get your performance, whatever it is, and then build on that performance, you know. Put yourself out there. That's that point. And like, that depends on the environment. So like I'm saying, the track is a good environment because you know what you're doing to the second, and it's the same distance. It's a nice, closed, controlled environment. Obviously we like the industrial estate a lot for that. But even things like over at Gisborough Woods, North York Moors, that we do a lot of, you know, you're running up Hutton Hill, you know it's 400 metres long, and you know what you've done before. And if you're faster on it for the same effort, then you're going to be better. You're getting better, aren't you? So there's things like that, and using locations wisely. Sometimes you need a controlled environment. Sometimes you don't need a controlled environment. Depends on the stimulus you're looking for. But play to the environments. You know, you are where you train, I like to say. Yeah. Number 4 is all about time management. So I've never known it so difficult at the moment in the running community for people to be able to do things. Like, things are difficult. We don't have the time that we had it in lockdown and COVID and all that. So people are more strained, and they've got to be more efficient. We all have 24 hours. Some people use those 24 hours more wisely than others. Yeah. So one thing I would say is strip back as many distractions as possible. So social media is a big one. I mean, how many hours do we spend on social media a day? Probably too many. I'm saying hours because it probably is hours, not minutes. So you got to strip back those distractions, you know, TV and all that. And, you know, what is a 30-minute easy run compared to 30 minutes watching TV? Yes, we need our chill time, but sometimes, you know, we can do something better. Then you've got multitasking. So, for example, last Sunday I was doing weights. I was doing heavy lifting, and then in between the heavy lifting I was writing training plans in between the rests. So for me, that was a way to get 2 things done at once. You know, things you can do like that, or running to work, running back from work. You know, just being structured in your week, timetabling your week out. Speak to a lot of athletes in the club. You know, they got a timetable on the fridge of when they're doing certain things. When they get the plan, they know when they're gonna do the hard session. They know when they're gonna do the long run, and they make time to fit that in. All right, you got to make time. You got to prioritize it. If you don't plan it, then things will slide. It gets too late. You don't get it done. So use your time wisely. That's important. Number 5 is, I've said this before on a video, but it's to become almost solely, to be honest, solely internally motivated and not rely on external validation. So what I'm saying by that is basically, if you were to do a race and nobody ever knew about the result, let's say you smashed it, you ran a massive PB, and no one ever knew about how well you did, would you still be happy with that result? You know, would you still be happy with that performance? You know, if the answer is no, then we've got to rewire the system and start to think a bit differently. You know, you got to race and you got to train for you. It's got to be because you want to do it. Like, it's not about to please other people or to prove a point, you know, things like that. Because if you're going to be solely externally motivated, then once you don't get that dopamine effect of, you know, the kudos, the likes, the comments, the attention, then you're gonna go down a negative spiral, and it's going to be difficult to get out of that, and you're going to rely on that all the time. So you got to strip that back. You got to focus on you. You got to focus on being internally motivated for being the best you can be. You know, it's a famous quote, but being the best you can be is what it's all about. So I'll leave you on that note. Like I said, enjoy social media, but don't rely on it. All right, do it for you. Hopefully those 5 points got you thinking. And you know, let's put those in practice in your training and keep improving. Thanks, guys.